Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and in today's video we're going to have the latest on the heavy snowfall we do have around at the moment. Many areas in the south woke up to a covering of snow this morning, with a good few centimetres seen quite widely to sort of moderate elevation, 50 to 100 metres over hills. Lower than that, it's a bit more of a slushy, rainy mix, but that was always the risk. And any areas with more moderate to higher elevation, a couple hundred metres above sea level, we have seen some quite decent snowfall, 5 to 10 centimetres in places, and we have a yellow warning issued for this, and pretty warranted. It was pretty much what the models were showing over the last couple of days at least, with that snowfall pushing in, turning widely to winteriness further inland towards coastal areas and right towards the southwest, less so. One thing the models haven't anticipated is the extensiveness of this precipitation through the day today. Many of the models thought it would linger in the south but clear into the near continent, but we've actually seen areas of snow push northwards into the Midlands and East Anglia. Now, do try and ignore the colours of this precipitation. It generally is snow. There is rain, especially down in the southwest and towards the coast. For some of these areas in the Midlands, you can see it is a little bit touch and go. Each update, it changes. Most of this is falling as snow. I must emphasise that, with the snow line really further southwards towards the south coast and low-lying areas around there. Again, it is during the day now, recording this around 1 p.m, so most of this snowfall, unless it is really quite intense, isn't really settling all too much, because as we're in March, we've got quite high sun intensities, and that, even though it is cloudy generally out, just that ounce of energy is enough to keep surfaces above freezing. So unless we've got really heavy precipitation out there, heavy snowfall, most areas here are just seeing falling snow at the moment. Areas in the south, we have had some snowfall on the ground. Probably this is accumulating still. But further northwards, where the area is still quite dry, not all of this is reaching the ground because we're getting sublimation as it falls, because of the dry, cold air. But what does reach the ground isn't going to settle all too much, perhaps for another few hours, until maybe 4, 5, 6 p.m, once that sun does start to set. And by that time, we've got another area of heavy rain and snow pushing in, and that really looks like it's targeting the Midlands into northern England this evening. It's slightly further northwards than some of the models we'll have a look at in the moment, so perhaps that does bring in Yorkshire and generally northern England in more to the equation here, but we could see 5 to 10 centimetres of snow overnight tonight, and then we see another area of very heavy snowfall moving in, most likely containing the heaviest snowfall we will see through this spell. But it also brings the risk of rain mixing in, definitely on its southern extent. The warning for this has been shifted southwards to include more of the Midlands, as the low has been correcting southwards. So somewhere in the North Midlands, northern England, is likely to see a lot of snow over the course of the next 2 days. Widely low-lying areas, I wouldn't be surprised to be seeing 5 to 10 centimetres, and perhaps higher ground seeing 10 to 20 centimetres or more than that. Again though, all dependent on that typing. If tomorrow into the evening we do see more rain mixing in, then of course those amounts will be limited, especially to low-lying areas. But I definitely do think this is the sort of bullseye zone, Midlands into northern England and Yorkshire, definitely where we're going to see the heaviest snowfall over the next couple of days. Now, we do only have yellow warnings issued at the moment. I am surprised by that, and I'll get into that a little bit more in a minute. I do think there should be an amber warning issued, as we'll have a look at the latest data in a minute. But at the moment, we only do have yellow warnings, and those have been updated only just a couple of hours ago. So it's not like the Met Office are waiting to update them. They perhaps could this evening, and if they did, we'll get another update out. But at the moment, you can see widespread snowfall out of the sky. Not too much this is accumulating yet, apart from the south, where we already have some snow on the ground, and of course over higher ground in northern England, Wales as well. But as the sun does start to set this evening, most of this will start to accumulate as those surfaces do cool. If you put on the temperatures around lunchtime, you can see it is widely cold day today, widely towards that freezing point. See the far southwest, where milder areas pushing in, that's fueling the precipitation, but widely where we've got these lighter blues, temperatures around 1 or 2 degrees, slightly above freezing, and some areas slightly below freezing. Further northwards, still very cold, and it's just a generally cold, wintry day out there. From looking at the radar a minute ago, probably it's the most widespread snow we've seen in a number of years in terms of falling snow on the radar. Again, can't say that for snowfall on the ground because not too many areas have snow on the ground at the moment, but in terms of the radar image, that's most widespread snow we've seen for quite a time. One of these proper slider lows bringing heavy snowfall. Again, if this fell somewhere a month or two ago, we'd likely be seeing a lot more snowfall, a lot more accumulating snowfall than we do have at the moment. If we do put on the past 24 hours snowfall, again, these are radar estimates. Again, not particularly accurate because some of these areas the snow didn't settle. You can see biggest areas for snow is over the high ground of southwest England, southern Wales, and generally southern England. More will be falling through the Midlands and northern England tonight. So widespread falling snow the past 24 hours, settling snow in the south, but we'll likely see more settling snow through the Midlands and northern England over the coming hours. If we do put on the weather warnings, we do have this widespread snow and ice warning issued for southern England and the Midlands, and it's until 7 a.m. tomorrow. So this is for this extra area of precipitation that's out across southern Ireland, moving in. Again, I do think from its positioning it's slightly further northwards, so I would favour the northern extent of this zone. And I said from midnight tonight until 7 a.m. From midnight last night, so early this morning until 7 a.m. tomorrow. So if we do have a look at the further details, again, sleet and snow around, typically low elevations, 2 to 4 centimetres, and parts of the Midlands and Wales could see 5 to 10 centimetres, especially tonight, and could see that more widespread over the higher ground. High impact and increasing in likelihood. And again, the reason why I don't think we have an amber warning issued is simply because of the uncertainty with the positioning of it. But at the same time, having a look at the latest models, they are all pretty consistent roughly on the right area. The last thing I want to happen is see the Met Office issue an amber warning while the snow is falling, as that is pretty pointless. Have done that in the past with some of these events, and it does frustrate me a little bit because I do think they're better off issuing an amber warning now and perhaps downgrading it during the event than not issuing an amber warning just because uncertainty, and then the event comes off and we do see amber warning levels of snow widely, which some of the models are going for, and we don't have the warning in place. Very, very weird with that. We do elsewhere have a snow warning issued for northern Scotland from 6 p.m. tonight until 10 a.m. tomorrow, again for the further snow showers, again a few centimetres issued here. Again, a bit weird, yellow warning for 1 to 3 centimetres, and it's clearly stated here, perhaps 5 to 10 centimetres, 2 to 4 centimetres widely, 5 to 10 centimetres, and the same warning level. I know the matrix is different, but from the looks of it, not looking it into detail, just simply for people seeing it on Twitter, for example, as you do scroll through it, I do think we should see an amber warning issue within that. Not only just for the events tonight into tomorrow, but for the main event through tomorrow afternoon until Friday. Heavy snow has the potential to cause disruption. Again, the warning zone has been shifted southwards, and it's decreasing its impact but increasing its likelihood. Again, I'm surprised there's no amber warning issued here for parts of the North Midlands, Northern England, and Yorkshire. That's where, again, I think this pinpoint area is. You can see where the two warnings overlap there through Birmingham, Nottingham, Stoke, Leicester, into parts of Wales. That area really could get caked in snow. Not the most amount of snow from any of these individual warnings, but overall could see the most amount of snow. Again, 2 to 5 centimetres, quite widely. 2 to 5 centimetres falling perhaps in quite a few areas. Again, they say here low level areas including the major cities such as Manchester, Newcastle and Liverpool, perhaps not, but again, all dependent on the typings from this. Again, 10 to 15 centimetres over 100 metres, 25 to 40 centimetres. Again, just the sounds of that seems like there should be an amber warning issued, simply because that amount of snowfall would be hugely disruptive. And I know it says only above 100 metres, but 100 metres is really quite moderate hills. Quite a few areas are above 100 metres, and again, if that level dropped by 50 metres, which definitely is in the uncertainty here, 10 to 15 centimetres through this area, down to 50 metres above sea level, is a huge chunk of land involving millions of people. So again, I'm surprised only a yellow warning issued for this at this stage. I'm surprised there's not a precautionary amber warning issued within this. I have seen amber warnings for the past few years for lesser events than this. So again, just weird. Perhaps we will see an amber warning issued this evening. Maybe the Met Office are waiting for the midday runs to come through, but we will just have to see. And again, that warning does extend into Friday as well. So if we do now have a look at the latest models to see why I do think there should be an amber warning issued for parts of the North Midlands and Northern England. Now, if we do run through the precipitation heading in the moment, you can see that precipitation moving through at the moment a little bit more extensive, especially through the Midlands and Northern England as I'm recording this, than the models are making out to be. Again, signs the intensities are higher than the models are showing. Already signs perhaps that we're going to see more snowfall than the models are initially indicating. Through this evening, though, that snow does pep up through the North Midlands into Northern England, and you can see there, even as far as south as London could see some snow, but it's that Midlands into Northern England area and parts of Wales which are really going to get caked in snow from around 5-6 p.m. this evening. Could see snow, as we saw on the live radar, continuing through this afternoon, but really significant snow could start to arrive around rush hour as the sun does set. Again, just as the ground does cool, again, could see some big accumulating snow developing tonight. That does clear and eventually sort of peters out around midnight, but still some lingering areas of patchy snow around. However, we see another area of precipitation move in around 6-7 a.m, and this is where the uncertainty comes in, because we've got a big mild wedge underneath this, and again, the North Midlands into Northern England, that's where we're seeing snow initially, could drift further northwards. Again, big uncertainty on the track of this low pressure, and that will decide whether we see rain, sleet or snow, or a mix of all three. As we head through Thursday, it does more turn to snow as that low clears. We could see a big area of back edge snowfall developing. So again, if this all stays as snow, these areas here could see 20 or 30 centimetres. If it mixes a bit more rain, maybe limited to more towards 5 to 10 centimetres. A bit on and off, bit of melting during the event. Very, very messy. Again, we will have to see how it does develop. Beyond that, though, it does go drier, but really cold. I expect those temperatures to absolutely plummet through Friday night. And then again, generally, as we head into the weekend, things will start to turn slightly milder from the west, and we do expect there to be more frontal systems attempting to come up against that cold block of air. You can see more low pressure does move in, perhaps giving rain, sleet and snow, but more rain as it slides less and just moves generally further northwards with a big batch of heavy rain. So do suspect all the snow will melt by the weekend, and I do suspect that it will generally be much milder towards the start of next week. Still cold in Scotland, but much milder elsewhere. Again, we put on those max temperatures. You can see this afternoon widely touching around that freezing point. Max maybe 4 or 5 degrees in the far east, where we do have lesser precipitation. But of course, precipitation is actually falling there in reality, so those temperatures might be a bit lower, but widely 0 to 2 degrees. Overnight tonight, those temperatures will drop towards freezing, so while the snow is falling, could see quite a bit of accumulations with those ground temperatures really cooling down. And then as we head later on into Thursday, we see the big uncertainty. 10 degrees in the far south for parts of the Midlands, 1 or 2 into Northern England as well. And again, wherever that line does develop, we will see heavy snowfall. Beyond that, the snow line does eventually clear southwards once again, and once again we could see a frost developing in a few spots, but very cold conditions widely. And then it's a Friday, another cold day, 3 to 5 degrees, and Friday night, look at that, temperatures dropping widely, -3 to -6 or lower, really cold with that freezing cold air mass and drifting back in. Into Saturday, still cold, 5 to 7 degrees, and then slowly into the weekend, things do start to turn milder, especially in the south, but still staying freezing cold in the north. And just how things earlier this week, the models had anticipated us turning slightly milder through Thursday and Friday, especially in the south. It is temporarily, but not for the foreseeable future, staying colder into the weekend. The models could shift this cold air southwards once again. We will have to see what happens over the coming days. So if you finish the video by just having a look at the other runs, see what they are showing over the course of the next couple of days. We'll look at the arpege, we'll have a look at the Rome run, the Icon, and the ECMWF, some of the highest resolution models we have access to, and we will see where they take the snowfall. So you can see over the course of this afternoon, snow through the Midlands, continuing quite heavy all the way through the evening before slowly petering away. And we see that next weather system move in. Very heavy snow to start Thursday, but turning more to rain, but actually still lingering as snow as far south as Birmingham there. So still quite widespread winteriness. Again, elevation will of course help with this, but pretty much anywhere within that region of the Midlands into northern England could see heavy snow, potentially heavy accumulating snow, and on its back edge probably all turning back to snow as cold air does wrap back in. If we do compare it to the Rome run, this is a very high resolution model. We'll have to see what it does show. You can see at the moment got heavy snow moving in to parts of North Midlands into northern England. That's pretty much what we're seeing in reality, perhaps slightly delayed, but putting eye on this heavier precipitation to the south of the Republic of Ireland, it is actually further inland, so perhaps showing signs that this is all shifted further northwards than the Rome is showing. So take that with a bit of pinch of salt. Maybe shift all of this precipitation further northwards over the course of this evening. So as we head beyond this evening, you can see heavy snowfall through the Midlands. Again, could shift that slightly further northwards as we are seeing the precipitation where this is coming from slightly further northwards in reality at the moment. That continues, and then we see more heavy snowfall pushing in, widespread heavy snow, again, mainly over the higher ground, but that's not all particularly high ground, even that's just moderate elevation, 50 to 100 metres, so even in those areas could see some snow for eventually it does turn to rain towards low-lying areas before, as this pulls away, could see another spell of very heavy snow. We can't fully get out to that extent yet on this Rome run. If we do have a look at the Icon run, again, heavy snowfall at the moment, continuing into the Midlands and northern England through this evening, giving some real heavy snow and potentially high snow totals in a few places. And then we see another heavy batch of snow, again further northwards, but still showing some very heavy snow just to the east of Manchester, again over the Peak District probably, but could drift into the Midlands as well. But this Icon run is slightly further northwards before it pulls away and then gives some back edge snow quite widely through England and Wales. Again, uncertainty. Initially snow, turning back to rain for maybe a 6-hour period before turning back to snow as it moves away. And finally, if we do have a look at the ECMWF run, again, heavy snow at the moment, snow moving into the Midlands, quite accurate compared to what we're seeing at the moment, I must say, there through the afternoon. Perhaps slightly further southwards than anticipated, but then heavy snow through the Midlands and northern England through this evening, and then another area of heavy snow moving in, and once again, focus through the North Midlands into northern England. Again, this area here going to potentially see some extremely heavy snow through this evening initially, and then through tomorrow into Friday as well, some more heavy snow. So just could be our bullseye area. Again, we will have to see exactly how it does develop. Very subtle shifts can make changes in the intensities, but also definitely for the event through Thursday into Friday, it will be the air mass. Do we see that milder wedge push in? And if it does push in, it will turn to rain. If it doesn't push in, we will see some really, really high snow totals. And that's why I do think an amber warning is warranted. But I can see why it's not in place yet, because we could see rain mix in. But I do think, looking at these latest runs, all of them are showing some quite substantial snowfall. And I do think an amber warning is warranted. If you look at the snow depth here, you can see widely through the Midlands into northern England, just showing you what could come off. It's very much now an outcast situation. We're not going to be able to look at these models all too much now, as they all are got slight variations, but it very much is going to be just keeping an eye on the radar and looking at observations as they do come in. So if you're interested in watching this snowfall, make sure you do look at the radar, at the Weather Channel or the UK Met Office radar. Very useful. I must stress, sometimes we do see stuff on the radar that doesn't always fall into the surface, especially when it comes to snow, because of that sublimation. So you can look at the radar at the moment, as we did at the start of the video. Not all of that is reaching the ground, I must emphasise that. But any heavier precipitation does reach the ground. So make sure you keep an eye on the radar if you're interested in the snow, and if you are in that Midlands, Northern England area, do be prepared for some quite heavy snowfall, but at the same time, it may not come off. It's very much on a knife edge, especially for the typing through tomorrow, but of course, we will see what happens. So anyway, thanks for watching. Make sure to keep up to date with the warnings and the live radar, and of course those warnings do change. I'll update you here as well. But anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Make sure to stay safe out there through the next few days in this winteriness, and I'll see you again for another video soon.